Hey guys, NNKH here, diving into another video here in Harmony, New Jersey, checking out this early 1970s Diamond REO truck. I think it might be an Apollo model, I'm not exactly sure, but it's been sitting for, I'm told, since 2006, so roughly 20 years thereabout. We finally got a break in the weather. It was really chilly for a while, but it's in the 30s, high 30s today, and melting off some of the snow. And then we got, I think, another 12 inches coming tomorrow. So I figured this is a good opportunity to pop over here, check this out. Now, this was posted for quite some time now. I originally saw it up at $10,000, and I said, there's just no way, but it is undoubtedly a very cool looking truck. It's got that going for it, but it's sunk down. It's got a lot of rust. And then the price continually was dropping down at $2,500. And I was like, you know what? It's worth going to take a look at. And I got that permission to kind of check this thing out. Maybe we see if we get it running today. So let's do a quick tour, see what we're dealing with first. We're sunk in pretty good over here. Looks like that tire is flat too. Rim's down a little bit. And the old copper core rad, and this is a tall truck. You know, I'm 6'3" and almost as tall as me, even though it's sitting down in there. Nice C-channel heavy duty bumper on the front. Got a skid plate. Oh, let's see. We got brakes on the front axle too. Power assist steering. Fenders have some rust holes in them. I don't know if these are factory or not, but they're like diamond plate fenders. Tank, oh, that sounds pretty empty to me. Batteries, unfortunately, a battery cable. Looks like somebody hacked off the battery cables, so that's not good. I got some shorties and stuff, but we might, I don't know if the long one going up to the starter's missing. That's not going to be good. Let's continue back. We got spring suspension, and I see brake chambers on the front axle and the rear axle. This thing probably rides like a brick. It's got a Rockwell A21J582 and this UDR NX14. That is a top loader axle. I don't know. I mean, it just seems really heavy duty compared to some of the other ones I've seen, but I'm no truck expert by any means. I'm just showing you guys what happens to jump out at me, like this double frame, a heavy spec truck. And this is not rusty at all. Like, often you'll see these rust jacket apart, very common. We got more batteries over here, and yeah, unfortunately the cable gone too. Now this would have been 24 volts because we got negative going to positive. And we got an oil tank, so this had a wet line kit on it. Here's those. Oh, that's just locked up with nothing in there. Yeah, that tank sounds empty too. Let's get inside of here, see what we're dealing with. Yep, that's what we're dealing with. Mice. This cab rotted out pretty good on the other side, and right here too. I mean, to be expected. I don't know what year this is, but I think, well, Diamond REO went out of business, bankrupt in 1974, and I did notice this on here, 272, so on the axles, probably a 1972 model, 73. Let's jump in here. It doesn't smell, of course. It's been cold out, so I'm sure in the summertime this thing is got some pretty bad odors, I would imagine. Yeah, clearly people have been living in here. Transmission is a Fuller Road Ranger, I guess a 13 speed. Yep. Let's get the low, direct, and overdrive. This is probably for the wet line. Engage that. Rusted out pretty good up top too. Tell me these massive marker lights are not stylish as anything. Made in USA. Got horns made by Grover in Los Angeles too. Let's get to the more important part. Oh yeah! That's what I was hoping for. We got a Detroit diesel. Guy mentioned it was a V8, but didn't really have any info on this truck. And this is probably an 8V71. I guess it could be an 8V92 as well, but I'll have to look up identification differences. It's a non-turbo. exhaust just goes straight back. But of course these all have a supercharger from the factory. They wouldn't run without one. Oh yeah, we're looking pretty clean under here too. This is our runaway flapper. Yeah, found that out the hard way when I was working on a 6V53 years ago. Yeah, apparently these Detroits are known for running away, which I didn't know. I mean, it really pays to do research first, but I like to just dive into stuff, and I think it's the most authentic experience for me and anybody watching. When you don't know what you're doing and you just start poking around and fiddling with stuff, and research after fact if you get really stumped. I wonder if this baby's locked up. I mean, can't budge it by the fan, but yeah, that'll be let's check fluids and then we'll try to get her budging over. I wonder if this has got anything turned over. Yeah, we got a big hex on there. Throttle's free. Let's see if this runaway flap operates. Pull this up. No, it doesn't. This should have moved, seized. Guess we might as well start spraying on stuff as we're making our way around this too. There's a shaft that goes across, and that should be operating. Definitely want to make sure that's operational before we go starting this up. Yep, that don't want to budge. I don't know why I'm worried about the shutoff when we haven't even seen if this budged over, but I'm feeling pretty confident because he said this did run when it was parked. Probably power steering fluid right up to the full mark. What else we got? Compressor, 2-cylinder, alternator. This, I would imagine, is the fuel filter. Double fuel filters on there. Take a look at the oil fill, see if we got moisture up here. No, I like that it has a screen too. You know, these old stuff, just everything made sense. Like, why wouldn't every single engine have a screen from keeping you dropping nuts and bolts in there? Oh, look how dry those rockers are up top. We're gonna be pulling these valve covers off anyway. See if the racks are stuck. That's a term you'll read and see everywhere, but essentially it gets dry up here. The mechanical injectors and the governor, very known for sticking on these. Yes! A little spring loaded too, and it has a cable going to it. Oh wait, no, that's just a limiter. And it has a sight glass built in on the front so you can just see without opening it up. So much rusty metal on this truck. I'm gonna get cut. Yeah, I don't see anything. See right down to the core, but of course that don't mean nothing. I'm sure it has some coolant down there somewhere. And there's no overflow bottle, so of course you want to leave some air gap up there. There's our dipstick hiding right there. I was looking down, I thought it was like a little vent or something. Let's see, this will tell us a lot. Okay, nice black oil, but not too black. And it's just below the low mark. Exactly what you want to see. I mean, it's probably a little cleaner than I'd like to see, but yeah, definitely not over full or empty. You know, if it's black as night, that's really what you want to see. See clean oil, it's like, all right, somebody might have been changed it and then had an issue, didn't run it. By the way, how many miles are on this? 82,655 miles. And over on the RPM, 347,000, showing the engine runtime. I imagine this truck probably doesn't do much more than 55 mile an hour or so. It seems like probably a low geared heavy hauler type of deal. Yes. Spent a couple minutes trying to determine if this is an 8V92 or 71, and I've determined it is a 71 because the water pump cover has bolts going through it, versus the water pump on an 8V92 would have a big snap ring. Let's see if this thing budges over. There we go. I wasn't too worried. Being a dirty old diesel, usually not so much a problem. Our next big obstacle is going to be battery cables. See if there's any of them left. I did just notice Right here, I see an eyelet. Yeah, there's our starter, and looks like somebody took the cable off there. Unfortunately, with this bash plate underneath, there's not a lot of room to get at this. I think we're gonna air this tire up right now, get a little bit more ground clearance. Of course, the valve stems all the way down on the bottom. Since we've had warmer temperatures, the ground's not frozen, but boy, I mean, it was sub-freezing for a while there. River's been frozen over. Yeah, we got access to it, so. Only got it up to 30 psi, but that's not doing much for us, and I do see it leaking at the rim here, so it's not gonna, you know, it holds a little bit of air. Yeah, there's a small leak at the rim down there. Alright, yeah, this cable is just ground that bolts onto the frame there. We had nothing at all for positive cables. Somebody robbed them or another machine. Or they could have scrapped them too, but of course they would have scrapped the batteries if they were doing that, which are about to fall out of that rusty tray. Fortunately, in my toolkit, we've got these. Positives live for the ground. The reason I didn't use this on the positives, that's just too small for a 1/2 inch. A nice log skidder going by. They're doing a little logging on this property. Ooh, that thing's burning oil. Woo! Smell that. I think I got this wired up right. Let's give it a little tap. Close your eyes. Okay, no arcing. Because everybody's done that before. Mismatch cables, get a big spark in the face. Should be live to get a crank over. Make sure we're neutral. Yeah. We got no key, but not a big deal. It's 3-wire. But before I go blipping this over, let's revisit the shutoff, because I don't think it's gonna want to fire right up, but you never know. Give it a little heat. It's a steel shaft going through aluminum housing, so that's never good. It's a recipe for things getting seized up. Lucky these ones weren't rusted worse. Long shaft going through aluminum. This last one, I gotta get with a wrench and pop this horn off. I was gonna take this whole horn off, but I wasn't sure if this little boss had another bolt. It doesn't seem to be. I think it's just a dowel. There's a look at the flapper, and I'd like to get that operational. See, there's a screen down there too, and there's a look at the roots blower. Of course, now I can spray the inside of that shaft. Maybe we'll get it moving. Yeah, that's where I thought there might have been a bolt, and there is threads there, but these are very universal, so it makes sense why they have it like that. We'll just go with this for a block-off plate. Now let's hear our first crank over finally. Let's get hooked up to this starter solenoid. Oh, you know, we got working on this at the right time. I've been seeing lots of wasp nests everywhere on here. See what it does, if the starter's any good. Oh, there it is. Okay, that's good starter. I guess I was a little worried about the starter because the wire's being off, like somebody, you know, trying to get a new one. Do we go safe route and take the valve covers off and get things moving? Yeah, I think that's probably a good idea. Gotta love the quick action. Valve covers. Oh, that's great. Pull the valve cover off, no issue. Look how tidy and clean that is. Dry too, bone dry. This is basically a mechanical common rail injection. I don't know much about them, but let's see. This is the rack, and I think it should be in the full fuel position. And yeah, that doesn't want to rock back. So you see it attaches to the injectors by these little arms. Now I'm going to go ahead and spray this down. I'm sure we can bust them loose because this seems pretty clean. Had some air hoses and stuff in the way over here, but should be able to pop it up now. Looking just as clean over here, and this one doesn't want to move either. Okay, I took this flat blade and went across all these injector rods. I found this one to be really sticky, and kept spraying it, working it back and forth. And now, look at that. We got good rack operation over here. And after some persuasion, got the same deal on the driver's side. So really glad I took these off because they were pretty darn stuck. And basically, when this shuts off, it's in the full fuel position. They're pushed all the way in. And to cut the fuel, you have to pull them out. So if this governor went to cut the fuel, it wouldn't have been able to probably do that. And it would have ran away. I was reading some conflicting information online. Google AI said that when these shut off, they are in the no fuel position, but that's not true. When this shuts off, they're all the way in, full fuel, and you can see that by, like right now, if I'm pushing this throttle, they're not doing anything. That's because they're in full fuel. If I pull these injectors out, now you see when I pull the throttle, yeah, it's pushing them in. So, all right, we can put this back together now. Okay, I see now. This is your fuel shut off, not like a normal diesel where you would have a solenoid that has to turn on. This gets energized, pulls that in, and you can see that pulls the injectors out. And then once it shuts off, it goes back to the full fuel position. Oh, yeah, that's how we can shut it down. Let's get our flapper operating so we can get the air filter hooked back up. Roll pin broke. I think we'll just let this torch sit here for a few minutes and get that aluminum nice and toasty. Next, fuel. See what's in these tanks. Actually, before we go messing with this tank, I just noticed it has a crossover. Okay, that crossover's open. We'll just shut this for now so we don't even have to mess with this tank in case there's water on the bottom of it. And how's this doing over here? Oh yeah. Again, the proper thing would be taking this roll pin or that roll pin out, but I think if we just give it a little heat, we can get it moving. Or maybe not. It probably hasn't been moved in a very long time. I guess if you own one of these, I think that's going to shear the pin off. If you own one of these, you have to cycle this very often. There is an O-ring in there. If we want to take the shaft out completely, you gotta get the roll pins on the inside too. Go a little more heat. Oh yeah, that's moving better now. There we go. And just work that back and forth. Slap this back together. As for a roll pin, I think I have some of those. If not, we get a nail or something that'll work for sure. But there we go. Got the roll pin kit. Right there. Cable pull test. Oh, air cut off. Now how am I going to reset that? I can grab that with pliers, but that's why I had a little pin sticking off the end there, so I can reset it easily. In case somebody was to trigger that at the truck stop or something, or you hit a bump and the cable goes poop. Shut you off on the highway. Curious how the air filter looks. I noticed the screen's rusted away up top. Kind of what I was thinking. Still stinks too. This screen luckily was on the air filter, so it didn't go any further. Gosh, any air filter that doesn't have a steel screen, just no good. Back to the fuel. All right, pretty clean tank actually. Smells like old diesel. I think we can run that. It's actually, I know it looks orange, like it's nasty, but I think that's just the rust on the bottom of the tank, little rust coating. So my guess would be that this system is still hopefully holding its prime, and you know, if not, we'll go from there. But I think I'm ready to do some cranking and see if I got any puffs of smoke. We're about to see just how tough these old Detroit diesels are. Here goes nothing. Does she fire right off? Yes, I think so. There's that smoke back there. Oh, we already got smoke in the exhaust coming out of a crack. Yeah, this is gonna go right off. That's coming out of the exhaust manifold gasket there. Okay, we might need a hit of ether, but we're definitely getting fuel. Now, so we might not have... Oh, that spooked me. The door came flying open like a ghost. We might not have fuel prime. Oh, and there's the mice. Just saw one come running out of there. Coming from the top of the tank, this is our fuel inlet, and then out. And we could push pressure up this hose with diesel, but I mean, yeah, see, that's bone dry, so it's just, it lost its prime. Oh, actually it started pulling a little bit of prime from the tank though. I don't know if you just heard that. Whoosh, shot back down. See if we can try that from here. Nothing came out of that either. Full fuel. Oh, it's nice to give all this extra tail here. It's possible with how low these tanks are and being pitched forward that this fuel pickup's not even reaching into the fuel. But I don't want to waste the only diesel I have trying to find that out. Could be a clogged pickup screen down there too, if there is one. Let's see what that pickup looks like. Yeah, it's reaching down into the fuel. I guess we could add a little air pressure to this. Yeah, that pickup is blocked because that was holding a little pressure and no air, nothing coming out of there. And we got this hooked up to gravity feed now. And let's see what that does. There comes the diesel. Okay, well, if it is going through a pump, it's primed now. Yeah, we're gonna be in business. Now we'll go for this upper hose, wherever that goes, but highest point on the filters. We'll loosen this and make sure we got these full. Wouldn't be the worst idea to open up these drains, check for water, but I can see somebody already ripped the brass off, the brass tee off of there. Now we do have fuel coming out of this guy. Great. All right. We are fully coolly primed. Here we go. What do we got? Started shooting out everywhere here. Yeah, we have a big broken hose. This guy right here. I wonder if this is just a return hose It does go to the engine block, but yeah, it's a pinhole in there. Well, that's no problem. We can rig something up for this. Just noticed bird's nest. Guess that probably came out of the stack, huh? You really gotta love these rebuildable hoses. Tell ya, you don't build stuff like they used to. You keep a section of this hose in your truck when you're going down the road, not a problem. Got fuel hose up here. I'm definitely tempting to run that, but no. We could do a little better. Too short? Not at all. This is transmission cooler hose. Good enough for me. Actually, I think this is going to work fine with this. Okay, the hoses are back in. Had to take one off to get to it. Down in there. Should run good now. Well, let's check the coolant level. Normally I would just dump a bunch of water in there, but we're dropping back down to the cold temps and snow's on the way, so let's not do that. We will, however, take off, if we got water up to here in the engine, then we're good. You know, any small pinhole leak in the bottom when something sits this long can drain the entire system, and it's already not a good idea to run it at all if there's no coolant, but I've certainly done it plenty of times, never had an issue. Okay, yeah, so we got coolant in there. Look at that, boom, nice green coolant. All right. Can't beat that surging idle of these. Oh, this was straight piped right now. Definitely hitting all 8. Since I put so much work into the runaway flap, let's try that out. There it is. Let's see if the clutch is free. Part of the other problem with getting this out of here is you can't get a lowboy or any kind of trailer up here to get this thing that would be able to haul it, because the driveway is twisty and very steep. I mean, maybe somebody can come up here, but I imagine this is going to have to get down the driveway on its own. They do have quite the beautiful property here, though. I think, I don't know how many acres it is, but it seems pretty big. Seems like 50 acres or something. Basically a mountaintop. Yeah, it looks a little nicer. Okay, whoa, that is tight in here. This is crazy. I can't, you got a nice overhead. Yeah, we're good. Got oil pressure bouncing around. Unfortunately, nothing on the air yet. The pedal doesn't even move. Oh, I do hear some air though. Yeah, the compressor's going. I got a million broken hoses. Okay, we're gonna go clutch all the way to the floor. Oh, a little bit of grinding down there. I'm afraid it's going to jump into gear and the clutch is seized. Doesn't seem to want to go in gear. I mean, what am I kidding? It ain't going nowhere if it does go into gear. Oh, all right, that's in. Okay. Yeah, buddy. Whoop. All right, it didn't like that. Just died out on us all of a sudden. Oh, that's what happened. Our flapper went again. Maybe when I was yanking on that cable, it did budge. Okay, we're reset. What a smooth engine this is. Oh, there's the placard. Diamond REO Trucks Inc., Lansing, Michigan. It's a model C116 64DB-OH. And we're spinning. Or what is that noise? We leaking fuel again? I hear something spraying. Oh, yep, we're leaking something there. What blew out? I think that was the power steering, actually. Okay, yeah. Power steering hose probably blew. Needs a lot of hoses. Oh, it felt like it spun some wheels, but maybe not. Definitely not on this side. Oh yeah, over here we were spinning. Oh, all right, well, I guess at this point, with it getting dark, we're not gonna be able to budge this. I mean, come on, I wasn't expecting it to pull out of the spot. Will it run without major work? Yes. Will it drive without major work and all the hoses? No, absolutely not. It needs quite a bit, but I don't want to see this thing get scrapped, and that's why I convinced this guy. He was nice enough to let me come here and wrench on it for the day, so thank you for that. It was an honor, and his absolute bottom dollar is $1,700 on this. I think it's not the worst deal, but the problem is when you factor, I'm over an hour from here, when you factor in trying to get this thing out of here and then all the work it needs, yeah, it's, really, $1,000 would be, I think, a nicer price. But let me know what you guys think down in the comments, or if you're interested in buying this thing. He said best offer. I mean, he seems to think, especially with it running, that it's worth more like $5K. Maybe there's something very rare about this that I'm not seeing. I didn't do a bunch of research. Maybe you guys know any info on this truck. Please, feel free to drop it, and feel free to skip this ramble if you want to go further in the video and see what we're up to next. So that is the 1972 Diamond REO C116. It's been sitting for quite some time. Not rusty and crusty underneath. Cab, yes. But I'd just drive it the way it is, vacuum those mouse turds out of there. Have a good old time with this. My kind of place. Stopping for a little pizza on the way home. Have not ate all day. Pizza shop, no dressing up or anything. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Got some chicken tenders, chicken cheesesteak hoagie, and garlic knots. Can't beat it. Now I'm guessing some of you guys watching have already commented about this, but did anybody pick up on this mistake? This would have been 24 volts because we got negative going to positive. If I was paying closer attention, I would have noticed that each battery only had 3 cells, meaning they're 6-volt batteries. Yes, they were wired in series, but each side had their own ground, so it was a 12-volt starter that I wired 2 12-volt batteries to and ran off 24 volts. I wonder why I was cranking so strong. Not a big worry. Little 24 volt action on a 12 volt starter. Never hurt one from my experience, but it's certainly not good for it. Could fry it and burn up the windings. I don't know if you guys noticed it on the axle tag, but this thing has got a 7/24 axle ratio in it, which is gearing for like just steep, heavy haul climbing. Something else you'll notice is that the rear axle doesn't have a parking brake, so when I was rubbing the clutch a little bit, just feeling it out, it actually spun that right rear wheel, even though we hadn't built up air to release the parking brake. And after doing some research trying to find pictures of this exact model truck, it turns out it's pretty darn rare, and it is actually an off-highway truck, hence the OH at the end of the model number. I couldn't find any other ones that had the steel fenders and split open hood. They seem to all have the one-piece hood. So this must have been like a mining truck or a quarry truck, something used for off-highway heavy-duty use. You can see on the axle ratio, you can actually get all the way up to 1108s, meaning the drive shaft has to spin 11 times before the drive axle would spin once. All right, now switching over to a little diagnosing on the 2004 Tundra. It's got the 3.4 V6 5-speed manual transmission. Great truck. But lately, what's been happening when you park it hot for maybe like 15, 20 minutes, then go to restart it, has to crank a whole bunch. Let's see if it does it right now. Oh, so it's not doing it as bad as usually. it does, but let's, yeah, right there. So I'm thinking I have a leaking injector. Well, let's go do some diagnosing. Oh yes, the infamous 3.4 liter. Super reliable, not a lot of power, or torque should I say. Decent horsepower numbers, but boy does it not have torque for towing. I've been getting by with it for years though. Now the reason I think it's a leaking injector is because when it does start, you can smell it. Sometimes you smell the exhaust and it just smells really rich. The catalytic converter is not what it used to be on this, so you can get a lot more scent out of it. If you have a good catalytic converter, you might not smell that, but this one, it's not that good. It does have the engine light on too, you might have noticed, but that is for an evap leak, small leak, and that's been on for years, so I don't think that has to do with it. But yeah, I suppose that could cause an issue if your purge valve was stuck open and it was allowing those fuel vapors into the intake when you shut it off. That could cause a rich condition. But again, I'm thinking injectors. So what we're gonna do is, you see I have these fuel hoses marked. This is our fuel feed. We'll get a pressure gauge on there, see what we got. And then this is the fuel return. Fuel pressure gauge. And I've got this fitting in line so we can tee off that. Off to our gauge. Let's see what we do on pressure. You guys key on. Nothing. Okay, let's do a little crank. Well, maybe it just has to build up because all the air in there. But all right, yeah, it just budged there. I guess let's just fire it up. Okay, a little bit 45. Oh yeah, there we go. That's what I want to see. Nice healthy pump. Let's bleed the air out of this thing. Oh, that valve's actually stuck. There it goes. Here, this thing keeps running, but it surges down a little bit when I pull that. Okay, so all the air is out of the hose here. And yeah, 45 at idle. See what happens if we blip the throttle. Perfect. It's actually higher than I would have expected, but I ain't complaining. Truck runs great down the highway. Now let's shut this down and see if that pressure holds. If we got a leaking injector, then it should be dropping. We're at 44. I'll give that a few minutes. And 20 minutes later, and we have dropped down to 24 PSI. That's quite a bit. I don't know what normal would be. Let's pop this intake boot off and see if it smells like raw fuel in there really badly or not. Because that pressure drop could just be from the fuel pressure regulator leaking back down into the tank, or just fuel weeping back down through the pump. But I don't have any leaks on my fittings, so it's going somewhere. Yeah, I'm not getting any ridiculous fuel smells out of there. You'd think if one of those injectors is leaking, it'd be sending the vapors up the runners. One thing that's kind of unique on this truck is the throttle body. It's actually a combination cable, mechanical linkage, but also drive-by-wire. I guess this is when they first started implementing it and using it. And so when the truck's running, you turn this, with the cable, it is actually electronic throttle control. But then if that fails, it you see it still get mechanical operation of it, but you only get partial throttle. It won't open fully. It starts opening like right here, you get nothing, and it starts mechanically opening right there. Now, kind of cool, redundant, because in a modern car these days, if you blow a fuse or have electrical wire break, you have no throttle at all. This one, it'll still work. And I've put it to the test before by unplugging the motor side of it, and you can still drive the truck. You just don't get full throttle, but it drives around fine. And here's a look at this with the key on, engine off. You hear the throttle body makes a constant buzz. And now as you rotate this, the motor is opening it all the way up. And in a modern car, you wouldn't have this cable. It would just have this sensor down at your pedal position sensor. And this throttle body has been in the Delaware River, 10 feet of water. This truck was underwater and it still works fine. I never took that apart at all. I ain't proud of sinking this truck in the river, but back in 2021, that's what happened, and I did a little video getting it running. There was a lot of people that said I was going to be having electrical nightmare bugs in this truck forever here on out, but not the case at all. Mass airflow meter, everything's all original. Just dried it out. Even the computer still going strong. If it were salt water, it probably would have been another story. Take a look in some of these plug holes. Just pulled the spark plugs out, and here's how they're looking. That's the passenger side bank, driver side. I'm just looking down at the pistons, and okay, number 4 is actually a little bit wet on the carbon. Both 2 and 6 dry. Over here, number 1 wet carbon, number 3 dry, and 5 dry as well. It's got a borescope down there. Take a look in here. Oh, look at that. We got a pool of fuel down in there. So yeah, that is a confirmed leaking injector. That is where our pressure is going. Let's go check the other side. Was number 1 over here. And yep, we got some dampness down in there too. I don't know how well you can see this screen. Not quite as much though. Now, fortunately, I did order a set of rebuilt injectors a while back. OEM, rebuilt, flow tested, everything. I just didn't want to shotgun this. I was pretty sure that's what it was, but now we can see. So let's pop this intake off. So this is our problem injector, and you can see down that intake runner a little bit cleaned off, but I expected to see that really clean down there with that one being the one that's been leaking, but they all look pretty similar except for that one clean spot. We got a 35 psi, blew out one of the paper towels in the hole, and I'm not seeing anything dripping at first glance. Maybe it's just intermittently leaking. Guess we'll slap a new one in there, see if that fixes the issue. The only thing getting butchered up here is this plastic covering because it's so brittle. You look at it the wrong way, it breaks. Okay. And there is our problem injector. All the injectors that came out are original OEM. Here's the part number, and they're made by Asen, looks like. Thought these would have had Denzos, but the rebuilt ones I got, rebuilt OEM Denzos. Let's look at them. So, I don't know, this guy had really good reviews. Hopefully these are good. Different part number, of course. Now on eBay, you can get a complete aftermarket set of injectors for only 35 bucks for these, but I would never do that. I've had just the worst luck using aftermarket injectors. Now, if you go with just one brand new OEM, they're like $200 something at the dealership each. Crazy. All right, we're all back together. About to start this, but I wanted to show you before I go clearing the memory. I was driving this around earlier with the scan tool on here, and our long-term fuel trim at 4.65, and the injector pulse at idle was 2.7. So I'll make sure to see if those numbers change at all with these new injectors, but let me go ahead and clear this out, and we'll cycle the fuel pump too manually. I also disconnected the battery, and now our long-term fuel trim is at negative 0.04. Now I can manually turn the fuel pump on so we can prime those lines out. It's cycled, I'll do that a few times. Okay, that's holding 40, ready to start. Now I'll get this thing warmed up, drive it, and then we'll take a look back at these numbers. Let you know. For some reason, when you disconnect the battery on this truck, it idles really high for quite some time before it learns everything. It doesn't normally idle that high even when it's cold. You can check for fuel leaks too. After blasting this thing down the highway, the long-term fuel trim is at 6.21 and our injector milliseconds is around 2.8. Would have thought maybe to see that drop. It was at 2.7 before, but I think the original injectors probably just flowed more, realistically. I'll have to look into that some more, but seems to be running smooth, so I'll see if it continues doing the starting issue or not. I guess time will tell. I think the problem is solved. That leaking injector, I don't think it just didn't happen every time, but you saw how much fuel ended up in that cylinder, so it was definitely flooding out big time. All right, Mr. Gus, we got a little snow last night, but you know what time it is. It's time to go take the plunge. Of course, we'll just drop you right out here. Little wiener boy in the snow, huh? Plowing his way through. Not ideal. What do you think, Autumn? You want to come out? down a little spot here. I'd say we got, I don't know, almost a foot of snow here. All right, bubs, made you a little spot there. Do your business. All right, what do we got? Your first snowman. He's gonna give you a piggyback ride. There you are. All right, Autumn, let's do the escalator, right? Good job, okay. Wow, look at you go. Okay, I got confidence in you. Pay attention. Here we go. Go. And go. Whoa, look at you go. Wow. Such a good job, Autumn. Over here, it's only like 1.5 feet, 2 feet deep when the river's at this level. You look out, it looks like water pockets, but nope, not even close. That's at least 5 inches there too. Wow. You see, this was all broken up at some point, but it's an illusion, you know? Can still see the frozen ripples stuck in time. All right, officially walked all the way over to New Jersey. Looking back at Pennsylvania. Not too many times you can walk across the Delaware River. I just want to go on record saying that walking on a frozen river, extremely dangerous. Ice thickness, not consistent at all. Can be 6 inches in one spot and paper thin in the next. With that current moving underneath, you could get swept under. So don't go walking on frozen rivers unless you're 100% sure about the thickness of the ice. As always, really appreciate you guys tuning into these adventures. I'll see you in another one soon. And Jen has actually got a new video up today as well, so I'll plug a link to that down below in case you want to check it out. Thanks, guys.